going on, Jerome's Minnesota Vikings general manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah has an opportunity to completely reshape and remold the Minnesota Vikings this offseason. And last offseason, he definitely cooked in free agency, as well as securing quarterback of the future, edge rusher of the future, etc. And this offseason, Kwesi has this opportunity to put Moneyball fully in effect because of whether the dead cap storm last year, $60 million dead, and now they have $62 million in cap space this season. And also, so there's been questions about like the vacillation of cap numbers. This is the most recent from SpotRack because some sites tally in cap roller, some don't. Some sites account for draft pick cap space, some do not. Also, they haven't officially announced what the 2025 salary cap is going to be, so there's different projections for everyone. But basically, the Vikings got a lot. The Vikings got top 8, top 9 amount of cap space, and they can have more. They certainly can have more. And there's a handful of veterans on the team, which it kind of stinks, but the business is the business, right? And a couple of these players could be leveraged into a pay cut or a cut situation, right? And it kind of stinks, especially for guys like CJ Ham and whatnot. But like we said, the business is the business, and the Vikings could actually free up $19.25 million in cap space if they part ways with these 5 players, giving them 81 projected. And only taking on 9.1 million dead, but also could be a spot too where some of these players who are set to make a decent base salary, if they cut down that number and reduce that cap number, and then all of a sudden they have a base that could be guaranteed, as well as tossing some likely to be earned or not likely to be earned incentives in there. So it could be something palatable for the player as well as for the team, getting a little bit more cap space. But run through here. So Garrett Bradbury, age 30. So he's due a $4.9 million base salary, a $6.06 million cap, and the Vikings can move on and have $3.6 million in savings, $2.4 million in dead cap from his prorated signing bonus. And I don't know, because Bradbury been a starter for the Vikings at center for the last 6 years, and if they do want to revamp and reshape the interior offensive line, Bradbury, he hasn't been great. But has he improved over the last couple of years with the Kevin O'Connell regime as well as offensive line coach Chris Cooper? Sure, but that's because the bar was so low from his first 3 seasons. And they did sign him to an extension a couple years ago, but he is going to be on the wrong side of 30. He has missed time over the last 3 years with a back issue. So I don't know what they do. I think that he could be leveraged into a pay cut with some incentives sprinkled in there to make him whole. But also, I don't want to say it because I feel like another way to reduce his cap number would be to extend him, which I don't know. Like, honestly, I think if they want to completely rebuild and revamp the offensive line, I don't see how it can roll Bradbury for the foreseeable future. And I know, well, improve the guard play around him, and then he'll get better. They've tried that. Hasn't worked. Speaking of guard play around Bradbury, so Blake Brandel, who last offseason was given a 3-year, $9 million extension. Now, like a lot of the deals, it's whether it's a 2, 3, 4-year deal, essentially it's a 1-year deal. It's a signing bonus, and generally the first year is guaranteed. But Brandel slated to make a $2.6 million base, which is about double the veteran minimum for a player of his service. $3.9 million cap. Vikings can save $2.6 million by moving on because his base salary is not guaranteed. So this is clearly a leverage spot, and the Vikings definitely should hammer guard in terms of free agency and the draft. So Brandel, he should not be guaranteed a starting spot next year, something that has to be earned. And also, I think that he would have value as a 4-position backup, but you're not paying $2.6 million for that. So I think that, well, here's the two. It's a little bit dirty pool, but teams do this all the time. When a player has a base salary that's not guaranteed, right? It becomes guaranteed on the first day of week 1, right? If he's on the 53-man roster. But they'll wait throughout all the offseason, training camp, preseason, right until before the start of the season. And they'll be like, okay, take a pay cut. And the player is generally going to accept it because if they just get cut, Then they hope that they can land on another 53-man roster before the season starts. Unlikely. And they would have to learn a new system. They'd have to move their family. Fall is beginning, so if they have kids, they'd have to take them out of school. Again, it's a little bit dirty pool, but the business is the business, right? So generally that's how they leverage players into pay cuts. Kwesi's done this a couple times. Spielman did it all the time. GMs around the league do it, right? So it's some of that is a part of the game. And then you got Ed Ingram. So Ingram, his base is actually going to be accelerated due to playing time incentives. And that's sort of not great for players who aren't first-round picks, is that their year 4 base salary, it's not guaranteed, but if they play significant snaps in years 1 through 3, it goes up, and it makes him a clear-cut candidate. And Ed Ingram, he's due a $5.2 million base with a $5.7 million cap. And again, it's going to be listed as like 3.7 on a lot of the sites, but it is going, or 3.3, but it's going to be increased. So this one's pretty easy. And I think that it's a situation where if they were determined that Ingram isn't salvageable, just do it now and take the $5 million cap savings. That's really easy peasy. But it could be something where they go into camp with Brandel and Ed Ingram and free agent and draft guards TBD. And then if Ingram or Brandel aren't tier 1 backups, then they just cut Ed Ingram, right? So it's the same thing, no muss, no fuss. There's no date which is guaranteed other than week 1. So some of the Vikings could do. Or if they want to keep Ingram in the sphere, but he's going to be a backup, tell him, hey, take that $5.2 million base. We're going to cut down to league minimum, and we'll give you $1 million in incentives for playing time, which is something that the player generally will accept. And they got C.J. Ham. I love C.J. Ham, and if they want to use the fullback more in 2025, I'm all for it. They've sort of gotten away from 2-back sets, but C.J. also special teams captain, can do the damn thing. One of the older Vikings on the team at 32 do a $2.5 million base, and the Vikings could save $2.65 million by moving on. And it's really hard because you don't want to make a roster decision based on how much someone is liked. I mean, C.J. Ham's one of the most likable players in the league, but can he still contribute at a decent level given his roles? Yes. But also, can you save a couple million by having a pay cut or a cut? Yes. Both things are true at the same time. So I would hope that C.J. Ham would be back, probably going to be at a lower number. Yeah. And then lastly, Josh Oliver. So Oliver is in year 3 of his 3-year, $21 million deal. One of the first free agents this new regime signed in 2022. He's 28. Numbers-wise, he had a career year receiving, and he's still one of the best blocking tight ends in the game. And I would want to keep him around, but I don't know, nearly $8 million base salary for a backup tight end. Well, don't want to say he's a backup because he's a very integral part of the Vikings offense. He does play a significant number of snaps, but $8 million is kind of a lot, especially when none of it is guaranteed. So I could easily see Josh Oliver bring that base salary from 8, maybe bringing it down to 3 with a couple million in incentives, or potentially even working out a new deal if they do want to keep Josh Oliver in the fold. New deal that could lower his $9.4 million cap hit. So all these situations, they're slightly different, but even though the Vikings do have a ton of cap space right now, like we said, if they just straight up cut all 5 of these players, the Vikings would have around $81 million in cap space. That's why the numbers are always massageable, mainly due to Rob Thug Life Brzezinski. And I know that Kwesi gets a lot of poop, but it's small things like this, that free up a couple $100K here, a couple milli here, and that keeps rolling along, making sure that this team is streamlined and efficient, and that's really important. And that's something that Howie Roseman of the Eagles does constantly, and something that I want Kwesi to pick up as well. It's non-related to the video, but extending players a year early so that you can get a team-friendly rate. Howie's done that over and over again, whether it be A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, some of the other extensions, and they get their players that they want for their core at a lower team-friendly rate because they pay them a year early, as opposed to taking things to the mat like the Vikings did with Jefferson, Darisaw, etc. So I don't know. We'll see. I respect Kwesi's method as we head into offseason number 4, and just go from there. But your thoughts are thoughts. 5. Pay cut or cut candidates on the Vikings. Let us know your thoughts. Our thoughts, comment section. You guys are the best. You know what to do. Skol. Production value.